Good evening, everyone. This is Cricket Lot for Wednesday, February the 12th, 2025. And tonight we are going to listen to Dr. Ali teach about grounding, grounding. And I'm going to share my screen here, and I need to share my sound. Share sound, and then we're gonna go here, and then there we go. So can you guys see that? Okay, so we're just gonna start on the effects. Oh, grounding and earthing, that's what the other word was, earthing. Can nature heal?
Can nature heal? That is a very interesting question. Most of you will probably say yes, especially when thinking about the foods and energy that plants in nature can provide. But today I would like to look at some other types of event we can think of when we talk about the healing powers of nature. Off your shoes and socks if you sit in nature and enjoy. So one of the first things I want to look at is today's medicine. I mean, today's medicine is absolutely fantastic. We have modern diagnostic, we can look into genes. We know now what turns these genes on and off, so we can really change the cell from the inside out. We call this epigenetics, influencing of the genes with your environment, with your foods, with your physical activity, with your sleep, and many more things. But there's also a dark side to modern medicine. When I show you these data, medical errors have become the third leading cause of death today, behind cardiovascular events and cancer, but still before respiratory diseases, and we have plenty of those in the last 2 to 3 years. So it is an important thing, and it's really a big issue. So when we look back into yesterday's medicine, we see that they used entire different modalities. They used herbs and plants, but also just a connection with nature by itself, the spiritual connection, talking to the gods or whatever they were believing in. So we need to look back at these things and try to figure out with modern knowledge, is there something to it or not? And that's what I would like to do today. And of course, a big question for me is, can we align humans or humans and animals with Earth, with nature? Can we align the frequencies? Are there even frequencies in us, in animals, on Earth? Well, let me walk you through this very fascinating field of grounding, earthing, and forest bathing. And today you will see that some of this thinking is not just completely hippie thinking, the way we have thought, in the 70s maybe, when we were in nature and one with nature. No, there is really good science behind some of these things, and I want to show you that today. So let's have a look at a few studies. In this study, they analyzed 68 different articles, and they found health improvements in basically all of these studies, right? The health benefits were more consistently observed in areas with great tree canopy, also in a forest, but not in grassland. And I will come back to that and explain to you why that is. The main fields of health benefits included allergies, respiratory condition, cardiovascular condition, but also psychological well-being. Now, other studies about nature and health showed that there were clear associations between nature exposure and improved brain function, cognitive function, brain activity, better blood pressure, meaning lower blood pressure, mental health, including less depression, less anxiety, and overall better brain function, as well as, very important, better sleep. They also found associations between nature exposure and increased level of physical activities, and therefore a decreased risk of cardiovascular disease. So is there any connectivity with frequencies? I mean, we talk a lot about frequencies, but did you know that The Earth, of course, is round. I hope most of you would acknowledge that. And it turns around. And therefore, it just has a frequency by turning. But because the Earth is not symmetrical, there are a little more mountains on this side, maybe a little bit more ocean on that side, it will wobble a little bit when it turns. And that wobble creates several frequencies. And the main frequency at which the Earth wobbles is measured in hertz, and it's 7.8 hertz. And 7.8 hertz is what we call the Schumann frequency. So what does it mean? Do we have a similar frequency in our body in the range of about 5, 6, 7, 8 hertz? And we'll look at the human body. We see that brain waves, we look at brain waves that are quite fast. We call them gamma brain waves, then beta, alpha, theta, and delta. Delta very slow. These are the ones that you have when you mostly sleep. But theta brain waves are those when you really deeply relax and when you go into meditation. And interestingly, those theta waves are 4 to 8 hertz and basically correspond to the Schumann frequency of 7.8 hertz. So is there a way to align those frequencies, and can we benefit from this earth wobbling frequency by calming down our brain, because we know that theta brain waves are meditation and calmness. Now, I spent quite some time in researching the effects of nature or scents that we get from nature, and specifically essential oils as extracts from plants and flowers and trees, and what these scents, these smells, what effect they have on brainwaves, if any. And I used a very, very expensive equipment in this study. You see, I smelled essential oils from Young Living out of the bottle, and within about 3 to 5 seconds, I was able to see real-time brain changes in brain mapping. In other words, we looked at the brain on the computer screen, we were able to see different parts of the brain or select different parts of the brains, and then look at the specific frequency changes in those specific areas of the brain when smelling essential oils. And the results were quite astonishing. And so I can tell with certainty from this study that I did myself, but other studies, that in fact nature through smells or scents can in fact change brain frequency. And so nature can change your brain frequency just through adjusting and aligning with the Schumann frequency, but also by enhancing this experience with different smells and scents. And that brings us to the field of grounding and earthing. What is grounding, what is earthing, and what has that to do with the topic we're talking about today, with the healing powers of nature? Well, here's the first study, and it says that earthing or grounding influences human physiology, both during nightly rest and daily physical activity. In fact, these artists thought it might be the primary factor regulating the endocrine and nervous system. And that is quite astonishing. Now, here is another study that looked at the brain frequencies before and just after starting the grounding. Grounding meaning being barefoot in nature, on grass, on dirt, somewhere in the forest or in a field or just in your backyard. And what you see here, you see that grounding has a significant effect on brain waves, also muscle activity, and the cardiovascular system. But what these pictures show, left and right, these two colorful pictures, is the reduction or augmentation of certain brain frequencies just starting immediately after you ground. And when we look at the left of those two picture or graphs, that's a person, and we see that the moment that person starts with the earthing or with the grounding, there are changes in different brain frequencies. Again, and I told you the slower frequencies like the theta and delta frequency, they immediately go up. Some of the higher frequency, which tell you you're right awake and alert, they come down. And you see the same thing even in a more extreme, in the second right picture, which is another person, immediately, within seconds basically, the very high fast frequencies come down, and the low frequencies, in this case especially the delta frequency that we associate with sleep, came up significantly. And so this study really concluded that there is a shift in grounding towards stress reduction with corresponding changes in multiple body systems. And so if that would be true, we should be able to measure that in different ways, because whenever we're stressed, we have a release of a stress hormone, amongst others, and that stress hormone we call cortisol. So in this study, you see people before they started earthing, and they measured the cortisol levels, and then they did their earthing, and you see these cortisol levels in the upper picture are all over the place. They're really high. I mean, so a lot of people were very stressed, and then they went to do the earthing, and they measured the cortisol levels 24 hours later, and you see not only did the cortisol levels basically come down in all the participants, they also synchronized with each other, which kind of begs the question, can we kind of synchronize our body frequencies and our hormone levels, for example, by just standing close by in nature? I mean, that would be really a fantastic power of healing of nature, isn't it? And so the next question is, why would grounding even make a difference? What is going on? And this study shows us that the Earth's surface possesses a limitless and continuously renewed supply of free and mobile electrons. And this potential is maintained by the global atmospheric electrical circuitry. So earthing results in reconnecting with Earth's electrons. And the resulting benefits are reduced stress, better sleep, and also in this study, reduced pain. And so all these electrons that are constantly reloading the surface of the Earth, they are coming into our body. And when something is called an electron donor, it's also called an antioxidant, right? So all these superfoods that we're taking have the capability to donate electrons into our body and therefore function as antioxidants in our cells. But Earth itself, the surface of Earth, in nature itself can also act as antioxidant, as a super duper antioxidant. And these are the benefits we can collect from the Earth when just standing in nature on dirt, barefoot, and just collecting these antioxidant electrons. Now, looking at some more studies, we know that earthing normalizes daily cortisol levels and rhythms. I showed you that already, but it also improves sleep. We already saw that it reduces pain and inflammation. And this electrical connection, this direct electrical connection with Earth enables the daily electrical rhythms up and down, right? So that the electrons flow from Earth to the body, and these electrons are really, as we mentioned, thought to be acting as natural antioxidants and neutralizing positively charged inflammatory free radicals. And so it's a quite astonishing process on how nature can heal. So there's still a question, why is it better when you heal in the forest compared to heal in your backyard or on a piece of grass in nature? And I will explain that to you in a few minutes. So this study showed us that earthing restores the natural electrical status of the organism and thus the nervous system. It also generates immediate changes in the EEG. I showed you that on my own brain. It also changes muscle activity. Earthing regulates correct functioning of the nervous system, and earthing significantly influences the electrical function of the brain. But let's look a little bit more on how quickly and how well these benefits are coming to us into our human body. So contact with the Earth's natural electric charge stabilizes the physiology at the deepest levels. It reduces inflammation, pain, stress, improves blood and lymphatic flow, it improves energy, but in the night it improves sleep, and it generates overall a greater well-being. And these effects are profound, systemic, and foundational, and they often come very rapidly. So let's have a look at a few examples where we really measured with modern technology the effect of earthing. So what you see here is a person with inflammation and pain in the knee area. And after just 30 minutes of earthing, you can basically see how these electrons went up, scavenged the free radicals in that inflammation and reduced even the temperature of this area and just decreased the entire inflammation. Absolutely outstanding. Here you have a picture where somebody has some lower back pain, and that person again would do some grounding, and after 4 weeks of grounding the back pain was completely gone. And this picture was taken about 48 hours apart, and you can see the significant reduction of inflammation just through grounding. This person, they looked at the blood flow, and they looked at the facial blood flow in the face, and you can tell by yourself how increased the blood flow is after just 20 minutes of earthing, which again is a sign that earthing improves cardiovascular system, decreases blood pressure, but increases the blood flow overall, but especially in this case in the face. And there's another study, they looked at a similar picture, but not in the face, but in this case in the body and in the belly, abdomen. And you see basically better blood and lymphatic flow after just 1 hour of earthing. So these effects are really, really quick. And it was noted that improved blood circulation was especially in the lower abdomen with better digestion and less bloating. And so if you know that how important our gut is, the microbiome in the gut, all these bacteria that we have that are sitting and living in our gut, they heavily influence our body functions, they influence our immune system. About 70% of the immune system sits in the gut. They influence your emotions, your mood, your memory, everything. A lot of these neurotransmitters that make your brain work, in fact, some of them are created in the gut wall, and if the gut is not healthy, of course, then the brain cannot be healthy. And that's probably one of these mechanisms on how mental well-being is improved by earthing, grounding, or forest bathing. And this slide summarizes basically all the benefits of improved blood flow, better respiration, better digestions, a more functioning reproductive system, better bones, better joints, more energy, less stress, better sleep, good cardiovascular benefits such as lower heart rate, lower blood pressure, reduced muscle activity and muscle inflammation, reduced injuries. So some athletes do a little bit grounding before they do their competition, for example. It's also anti-aging because we have less free radicals in our body. The electrical sensitivity will decrease for those that are very sensitive to all these frequencies by cell phones, television, and everything else that is going through the air. And of course, we see also a decrease in chronic diseases. And so really grounding, earthing is something very, very, very important. And it reminds me of a story where my best friend Gary Young and we were in Canada for about 3 weeks. And one night he just came and woke me up around 3 o'clock in the morning. And of course I just jumped out of bed in my underwear and just grabbed my little doctor's case. And he looked at me and started laughing. I said, well, you maybe want to put on some socks because it's pretty cold out there. So I realized there was no emergency. So I got kind of dressed, and he took me outside and he showed me the northern lights. We were up there for at least, I would say, 10 days, and I haven't seen the northern lights. So Gary, being Gary, stood up every night just to look if the northern lights were here. And when he saw them, he came and woke me up at 3 in the morning. So we really admired these northern lights and just took in this energy that came, these electron showers basically that you could feel. But then he said, let's go to the trees, to the big black spruce trees that we have down in the field. And we went down and we hugged a big tree. And these trees are very, very high. They're like lightning rods, grounding rods. And they take this energy from these northern lights into the tree, and we could feel it by just hugging this tree. And so I'm officially a tree hugger now. But it was just very, very impressive for me to see how you can capture nature's energy through electrons that come and enter your body. And I slept like a little baby the rest of that night. Now, Gary also made some studies very early on, about 35 years ago, where he used different type of soils, but also different type of frequency, thinking that maybe these electrons may have something to do with the roots of the plants. And you can see in his book that Mary wrote about Gary that the plants that are exposed to more frequency, more electrons, have a deeper root and create healthier, more sturdy plants with better yield on essential oils. Very interesting to see. And then Gary, in fact, created an oil called grounding. And so what's in that oil? That oil, again, it's the black spruce tree that I described to you from Canada, but also white fir, which is a very, very majestic tree, pine oil, cedarwood oil, a very interesting tree, juniper oil, which has a little bit of, I would say almost like a citrusy taste to it, ylang ylang oil, and angelica root oil. And all of those together really create a deep grounding. And you need to try and smell that oil or put it on your arms or hand to see what it will do.
And you notice all the oils in that blend are tree oils. So tree oils are very grounding.
True, but it was interesting, angelic, and
Yeah.
ling. I didn't realize they were tree oils too. I didn't process that. I'm like, I learned something really new tonight.
Well, that was the root of the angelica. So yeah,
Gotcha.
yeah.
To you. But just talking about blending, creating different blends, Gary had different systems of blending oils, and one of them was to take three simple elements. The first element was a tree, and very often he would use the black spruce tree from Northern Lights. Then he would add a flower, very often ylang ylang, but sometimes geranium or rose or whatever he found that would fit very well. And then the third element very often was a citrus oil. And if you do not find a citrus oil, then you might find some oil that is somewhat similar or has similar elements, like, for example, juniper. And with that, he mixed those together and added maybe a carrier oil if needed. And the most simple blend we have at Young Living that Gary created is called Present Time. Well, let's go into forest bathing. And of course, here you see a bathtub in the forest. Besides, most of my picture, as a side note, I created with artificial intelligence. So here I asked the artificial intelligence to create me a picture of somebody bathing in the forest and just taking in nature, and that's what artificial intelligence gave me. And so forest bathing is not new. It was very popular and started kind of in the 80s and 90s in Japan, and it was called Shinrin Yoku. And it was just walking through the forest while breathing in the air, basically being showered with forest aerosol. And the air in the forest is typically rich in things like alpha pinene and other phytochemicals, mainly produced by the trees. We call this resin. When you go in the forest and you touch a tree, sometimes your finger gets really, really sticky. That's the resin. And if we distill that resin, or the wood chips that create that resin, then we get the essential oil or the essence of that tree, and they're full of terpenes. And so that's now the difference between earthing and grounding on a piece of grass, maybe in your backyard, in your front yard, in nature, and doing the same thing in the forest. Because in the forest, you're going to get the added benefit of these essential oils that you're going to breathe in addition to the electrons that come into the ground. So you have a double effect. And so look at some of these studies here. They looked at the terpenes found in forest aerosol during forest bathing, as well as those found in essential oils from those trees that have been reported to exhibit very strong biological activities. And so common terpenes found in the forest include, like I already mentioned, the alpha pinenes, but also beta pinenes, camphor, sabinine, limonene, even menthol, thymine, myrcene, and many other of these terpenes. And so when you look at this Shinrin Yoku, this forest bathing, it increases the number and activity of human natural killer cells. Wow. This is really, really, really important. I mean, it can enhance your immune function significantly. It also reduces your heart rate, your blood pressure. It reduces your stress hormone, as I showed you, improves sleep, as I mentioned before. It also reduces anxiety, depression, anger, fatigue, confusion, and increases overall energy. These are all things I already mentioned, but it's just nice to see that multiple studies in multiple parts of the world that measure these things come to the same conclusion. Here's another study where it says, and that's quite an interesting statement, frequent green space visits, but not the amount of residential green space or blue space. So green space would be grass and trees, and blue space would be like little lakes or ponds or little rivers and creeks. So not the amount of residential green or blue spaces or green or blue views from your home, but the frequent visit into these green or blue spaces were associated with less frequent use of psychotropic medication. In other words, anxiety medication, sleeping medication, antidepressants, and also anti-blood pressure medication and asthma medication. So what this is telling you is that you in fact have to visit these places and if ever possible walk barefoot in these places so you're able to exchange your electrons and get this antioxidant benefits and then smell the aerosols from the trees rather than just to look at pictures or to look outside the windows or just live in an area with a lot of grass to make it look nice. You have in fact to go and visit those spaces. That's what this research shows you. Now we can also look at green spaces and overall mortality. So this review looked at 12 different studies with over 43 million people. And practically all these studies showed a reduction in cardiovascular mortalities in areas with higher amounts of green spaces. So that begs the next question. What comes first, the chicken or the egg? What do I mean? Well, are you fitter because you are more in nature, or are you more in nature because you are fitter? And of course, that's more an academic discussion, but it really doesn't matter because you are fitter if you do more walking in a forest and in green spaces and close to blue spaces and sunny spaces. So let's talk about blue spaces. Wow, just looking at this beautiful blue space picture somewhere in the South Seas, I mean, it's just beautiful, right? And of course, you want to go there because that's where you benefit the most rather than just looking at the picture. But there's some interesting studies also about blue spaces. And in this review, 35 studies were included, and the evidence showed a very positive association between greater exposure to outdoor blue spaces and benefits to mental health, well-being, but also levels of physical activity. And we see the same thing like we see in green and blue spaces with sunny places. The sun also has a big effect on our body, including higher vitamin D production, which is very, very important for overall health. And so let's look at a couple studies, and it shows, of course, there's a dual effect. Low sun exposure is really related to an increased risk of dying, especially cardiovascular diseases and other diseases, but active sun exposure also can create cancer, skin cancer. The most dangerous one would be probably the melanoma. But even with the melanoma, those people who have more sun exposure tend to have a lower mortality than those with less sun exposure. And so whenever you see green, blue, sunny spaces, go there. Go into these spaces. Go in these green, blue, sunny spaces. Enjoy them. They're here for you. They're super healthy and your body's going to benefit. And again, if you like these pictures, I created them again with artificial intelligence by just telling them I want some green, blue, sunny space and an island and a forest. And this is what I got. So very interesting how you can augment natural healing powers, maybe a little bit with artificial intelligence. And this, by the way, would be a different topic for me for a lecture. And Gary always said that he wants to go into nature because it's God's living room. So again, I ask artificial intelligence to create me a picture of God's living room, the way probably Gary maybe has envisioned what he was doing when he was riding out with his horse into nature and staying in nature for days and weeks at a time and connecting and getting all the antioxidants in his body and getting all these aromas from the trees, the bushes, the grasses. I mean, just phenomenal what he did already without knowing all this science, because this science is mostly from the last 10, 15 years. So this really entails all this, what Gary called the knowing, right? Knowing that the old knowledge, the way we knew it from thousands of years, the ancient healing methods can be combined with the complete modern knowledge, as we have seen by looking at these studies. And now finally understanding why forest bathing or earthing and grounding creates so many medical benefits, because we know that nature has healing powers, because we now understand how that works. And just think about it. Who are we and who gives us the right to declare that health-supporting methods and techniques are not valid, even so they have been successfully used for hundreds, if not thousands of years? And that's kind of a tendency we have in modern medicine, just to kind of poo-poo all this old knowledge and not understand, or not even trying to understand. So it's really important that you understand all this, so you understand how powerful nature really, really is. And in addition to what I told you today, we also have all the power from these phytochemicals that we have in plants that we eat. So nature is plentiful with healing powers. I mean, just no doubt about it. And so it means we have to go back to the basics. And back to the basic means back to healthy soil, which really loads itself up to the circuitry of space and what's around the earth and the atmosphere, and loads itself with electrons that we can take as antioxidants into our body. And even if we use concrete somewhere and just create these cities and streets everywhere, do not forget, nature's will always prevail. There will always be a crack somewhere, and the plant will come through and the electrons will come through. And if you wait long enough, like 100 years, you won't see anymore what was there before, because there's a jungle above it. So with that said, I think you probably understood that forest and nature medicine is a very important part. So I would like to suggest to you and to stimulate you to go into nature, to do earthing, grounding, barefoot, walking around, and especially also combine this with forest bathing. And so heal yourself in and through nature. I hope you learned something interesting today, and I appreciate you watching. Thank you. This is Dr. Ollie.
I love those pictures at the end. So I wanted to ask him what you do in the wintertime.
Right?
Yeah. So,
You go south.
yeah, you go south, that's for sure.
Well, I had a lady that I visited down in Texas, and one of her thoughts was, is if you could just take a clean bowl of water or something and just put your feet into it, it's as close to grounding as you're gonna get when you're in the cold weather. Have I done that? No. But I'm thinking to myself, oh my God, or Craig says, yeah, get your plant and stick your finger in your plant that has
There you
grounding.
go. There you go. Well, that's a good point. Why not take your grounding oil and put it in your bowl of water, your tub of water, and soak your feet in the grounding oil?
Yes.
There was a lady at, and I think it was at Shannon's event, that said that she takes her pots that she empties out during the wintertime, her flowers, and she puts them inside, and she puts her feet in it when she's watching TV.
Oh,
She grounds in the soil there.
huh.
I
Interesting.
know, I thought that was interesting. Dirty,
I remember
but
that. I think
interesting.
that's why I came back and I'm going, oh, I got a plant that I could stick my fingers in and start
Yeah.
grounding.
But
Hey,
I thought that was
whatever
interesting.
works.
Yeah.
Oh. So what did the rest of you think? Gail, did you have something that really stood out to you?
You're muted,
Yes,
Gail.
yes. I was
Yeah.
trying to unmute.
Oh,
Sorry. Sorry, I've got a cold. So,
Aw,
yes, I tend to relate to that a lot. I do a lot of grounding and meditation. And I
good.
find in the spring and summer, I've done it since I was a kid, just naturally, I guess. But I would walk around barefoot. It drives my family crazy. Always having to have my feet to ground and be hot as tar, like be walking everywhere barefoot. And they'd be
Yeah,
yelling at me to put on shoes, but my feet need to be in contact with the ground. So
that's
when I
right.
even
Yeah,
take my dogs out now in the spring, I carry my shoes with me, but I walk in the grass,
mm,
that's
I'm
you
great.
know,
continuously
or I go to my
barefoot.
family's property and I walk on their property, and
Yeah,
because I know it's
yeah.
cleaner over there, but
There you go.
I'll go to the park. I sit in nature a lot, so I'm always outside because have dogs. So that helps.
That's
And I have
great.
a lot of
Yeah.
plants inside as well, too.
Yeah, that helps a lot. Yeah.
Right. Yeah.
I saw
Janice
Ariel
Welsh?
unmuted. Oh,
There we go.
Sorry.
Yeah, I thought that was awesome. Because like she said, I remember as a kid we used to run around barefoot all the time. I
Yeah.
don't think most ever do that now.
Yeah.
But
I
the
was in
grounding
Bar-
oil in the water sounds good.
yeah,
Yeah.
and I went to Barbados in September. I hadn't been back in 29 years, and I used to live there too at one point, and it took me back. I was barefoot the whole time I was there.
Yeah.
I even walked to the beach barefoot. You know, I was in the water for hours,
Yeah.
and any ailments I went down with, I didn't come back with.
Oh, yeah. That's great.
You know, and they subsided. Whatever I
Yeah.
had going on
Yeah.
subsided dramatically.
That's cool.
So I realized I
Yeah.
need to get away more often
Yeah.
because here doesn't have everything
No,
that we
that's right.
need.
Yeah. Janice Amadou, what stood out for you?
Everything. I haven't really heard of grounding.
Okay.
Yeah, so everything sounded great to me.
Yeah. Can't wait for summer to get my shoes off and go out there.
Yes.
Yeah.
time for me
Cool.
not to wait. I just gotta put the oil in the water and do it.
Yeah, exactly.
So is that what we're supposed to do with the oil?
Well, I just wanted you to bring it so you could smell it. You can,
Oh,
put it behind your ears, put it on your wrists, whatever you want to do. But since Debbie talked about the water, that's a great idea to put it in the water. So yeah.
What about
okay.
Sue Ellen or Ariel?
Yeah, we're getting to them.
Oh, okay. I know. I thought I'd ask them.
Ariel, did you have anything that stood out for you?
I like the fact that he did go back to the fact that this knowledge has been, it's kind of like we are getting back to ancient knowledge. It's not so much, it's a current scientific discovery, but this is something, that we're getting back to nature because like, this current society, we're like always indoors and we're always on our computers. And it's just basically, I like the fact that, the encouragement of getting back to nature, taking your shoes off,
Yes.
So, yeah.
Perfect. Perfect. Sue Ellen, anything stand out for you? She got to get herself.
Doing
You know
not
you're
muted.
muted.
She might have walked away too. Anybody have any questions? If I ask him that question and ask him what to do in the wintertime, I'll let you guys know. So
That would be fabulous.
yeah.
It's no wonder that a lot of
Thank
people now
you
are moving
very
out to the
much for
country.
showing us.
Uh-huh. Yeah, because it's instinctive, isn't it?
Right, and I
Yep.
think that they're tired of the cement and the crowding, and they want to get back where it's more open.
I agree. It blows my mind to realize if you get more out in nature, you're feeling more closer to Christ anyway. So there you go.
Right,
And much more healthier too.
right.
Yes.
Exactly.
I guess I'm gonna have to go out and hug a tree.
There you go. There you go.
I keep thinking, how cold is that to do that right now?
I know.
Oh, all right, everyone. Thanks for joining me.
So,
Well, thank you.
so Cricket, can you just go to his website to get that video?
No, I paid for an 8 series of classes.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. I don't know if you can still get it, but let me show you the website here.
Okay.
and you can go on and check it out. Let's see, share.
I think Sue Ellen just finally came
Um,
back to her phone. Did you have something to share?
it's
I'm not.
EOEDU. So EO Education Days. EOEDUDAYS.com.
Oh,
And
O EOEDU.
Days.
Days.
DAYES. Yeah.
Okay.
Um let me see which one it was. So this is what I got, the $14.99. Oh, it's 16 videos. And he said it'll basically be up forever. So once I bought it, I can go in and view them. So you can try, let me see if you can buy now. Yeah, it looks like you can still buy it if you want to. So it's only $15. So
That's fantastic.
Can you,
yeah.
can you put that in the,
Mhm.
send that in the replay
chat?
or whatever? Well,
Sure.
you're talking because we're
Yeah, the
still,
replay.
Yeah. Yeah.
That'll work.
Sure. Sure.
Yes, thank you.
Oh, could you guys see it?
no.
No.
Oh, sorry. I never shared it.
No.
I never
Oh,
hit the
thank
share
you.
thing. Yeah. So let me go back here.
Okay.
Okay, so let's see. See, they have comments here. So I'll put a comment in and see. But when you go to the home of EO EDU Days, there's all the different these are books that you can get. You can get DVDs and the books, and this is the one that I have right here, early bird pricing $14.99. So I just hit buy now, and it looks like you can still buy it now. So
Okay.
so when I did it, it came up to this, and this says you've already purchased it. So somebody that hasn't will have to
Yes.
try it and see if you can get into it. So
Excellent. Wow, thank you for sharing that information.
yep. Mhm.
And hi.
All right, everybody, have a great evening.
It was a great,
What-
it was a great meeting tonight.
Thank you.
The
Thank you.
cortisol level is just like out of whack, but
Yeah.
looking forward to prayer and spent a lot of time in prayer today, and the bipolar raised its ugly head, but
Yeah.
I love the oils, and
So maybe try this. Do you have grounding? Try grounding in water and soak your feet in it.
thank you.
Yeah.
Yes,
Yeah.
absolutely. Glad you were able to come on, Sue.
Yeah.
Good to see you.
Looking forward to the more sunshiny days,
Yeah, for sure.
better days.
All right.
ahead.
That's right. All right, everyone. Take care. Mwah. Love
Bye.
you all.
Yeah,
Thanks, Cricket.
thank you.
Bye,
Yeah.
everyone.
Thank you.